My dear child, have you ever felt like you're living in a world where no one truly sees you? No matter how hard you try, no matter what you say, no matter how deeply you're hurting, all around you, there is silence. There are moments when, even in a crowded room, you still feel like a shadow. No one asks, "Are you okay?" No one understands the things you're quietly carrying, and you begin to wonder, maybe no one really cares. But I want you to pause, just for a few seconds, and listen to what I'm about to say, clearly, certainly, and directly. Heaven is watching you, not watching to judge, not watching to find fault, but truly seeing, literally, every hidden tear you've shed, every heavy breath you've taken at midnight, every time you've forced a smile when all you wanted to do was give up. I've seen it all. There is nothing in you so small that I would overlook it. Not a single day passes that I'm not watching over you. Every step you take, no matter how shaky or uncertain, is still within my gaze. And today I'm sending you this message, not as a fleeting comfort, but as an awakening. If you are walking through darkness, if you are living inside questions with no answers, if you believe you've been forgotten, then know this: heaven is still watching. Not with cold distance, but with burning love. So don't look away. Don't scroll past. In the next few minutes, I will show you what is truly happening behind the veil of reality. You are not just seen, you are chosen. You are not just loved, you are sent. Listen, stay here, and let heaven reach into the deepest part of your heart. You are standing at a turning point, and I want you to know, this is not a coincidence. It's not random that your thoughts have grown deeper lately, your sleep shorter, and your heart heavier in ways you can't quite explain. That's because your soul is sensing a movement from heaven, a stirring that's beginning deep within you, and now is the time for it to rise. For some time, you've been living at a pace you believed was steady, but in truth, you've been stuck right at the threshold of your own becoming. You've held back dreams because you feared failure. You've turned down opportunities because you thought you weren't enough. You've stayed still, quietly hoping things might just change on their own. But child, no new season ever arrives through passive waiting. A new season only opens when you accept that what once felt safe has now become too small. And when you dare to step out, even if your legs are trembling. Long ago, I placed inside you something far greater than yourself. Not ambition, but a calling. Something with eternal weight. It's not out there somewhere. It's inside you, waiting in stillness for the day it would be awakened. And today, you are the one I have chosen to step forward. No one else. There is nothing more to wait for. The season has changed. The winds have begun to blow. Now is the time to launch into the deep. You might say, but I'm not ready. And I say this to you. No one who ever stood in the center of my will ever felt ready. But they still went. And it was on the journey itself that readiness was born. Courage isn't a feeling. It's a decision. A decision to believe that if I hold the beginning and the end, then every step in between is also in my hands. Be honest with yourself. You no longer feel at peace living in confinement. The things that once gave you comfort now make you restless. The things that used to make you smile now feel hollow. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you've outgrown who you used to be. It's time to leave the comfort zone and step into the anointed place, the place where I am waiting for you. You may look back and see a long list of losses, time, opportunities, people you loved. But if you look with eyes opened by grace, you'll see that each loss was a foundation being laid for something unshakable. Every failure was not a period. It was a preparatory milestone. And you know what? The breakthrough doesn't come when you finally get everything perfect. It comes the moment you decide to walk in the truth that you are called, that you are chosen, that you are loved with a love that cannot be moved. Every time you hesitate out of fear of being wrong, you forget that I can use even your mistakes to fulfill my purpose. Every time you delay because you fear loss, you miss the chance to see that I am your provider. Don't wait until everything makes sense before you move, because faith only means something when you walk without seeing. And this, child, is the life-giving lesson for you. This shift in season won't wait until you're ready, but it will come. The question is, Will you choose to rise and walk with me or not? And if you choose to go, I will be your cloud by day, your fire by night. I will be the whisper in the midnight silence, the strength when you are tired, the comfort when you feel alone. But you must take the step. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. Just let it be honest. That's where the journey begins. My beloved child, we're going deeper now. After you've sensed the shift of seasons stirring within you, I want you to return to something even more foundational, something simple but often forgotten: who you are in my eyes. You've heard many things about yourself, from others, from your own thoughts, even from painful memories. Some words made you proud, some left you ashamed. But rarely have you paused long enough to hear me call you by the true name I gave you. Not worthless, not failure, not the one who's always behind. I call you chosen, bearer of light, a marvelous creation in my hands. But I know there have been times when you didn't believe that. Not because you were prideful, but because you had forgotten. Forgotten because of the wounding words. Forgotten after trying and still being pushed aside. Forgotten because this life is too loud, and in all that noise, the voice of truth within you was drowned out. Look back. Haven't there been moments where you wanted to say something meaningful, but held your tongue? Times you longed to stand for what was right, but were afraid of being misunderstood? Moments when you felt the pull to start something I placed in your heart, but thought, who would even listen to me? In those times, you weren't weak. You were just covered in a layer of doubt. That doesn't make you broken. But if you stay in that forgetfulness too long, you'll start accepting a smaller version of yourself. And once you accept being lesser, you'll begin to live as if I never called you in the first place. I didn't create you to blend in. I placed you in the exact time, exact place, with gifts and wounds that no one else carries. Because only you, with the path you've walked, can bring healing to someone who's waiting for what only you can give. I've always used those the world considered nobodies: tax collectors, prostitutes, shepherds, fishermen, men hiding in caves. And I gave them a new identity, not by might, not by degrees or credentials, but through the power of love. Just like you. I don't need you to do something great to prove your worth. I just need you to believe again what I've always said about you. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to fight for a seat at the table. When you know who you are in me, you'll walk steady and quietly, like someone who already belongs. It's time to stop waiting for miracles to happen around you, and start recognizing the miracle that's always been within you. It won't come with an earthquake or a mighty wind, but through a quiet and gentle remembrance that you are the one I love, and I chose you, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing to grow. And when you step out from the darkness of doubt, something strange and beautiful begins. Freedom starts to flicker to life. Your words carry new weight. Your steps move with fresh conviction. Not because you're trying harder, but because you finally come back to who you truly are. Someone who doesn't live to please people, but to reveal the light from within. That's when I see you as most beautiful. Not for how you look, but because you're living as someone who belongs to a kingdom that cannot be shaken. You see, when you remember who you are in me, that remembrance alone will change the way you speak, the way you forgive, and the way you walk through pain. And you won't need to pretend to be brave, because your heart will become truly courageous. My beloved child, I know there are days when you wake up and it feels like the sky is collapsing. No clear reason. No one has hurt you, but inside you is a storm. Your eyes are open, yet your heart feels veiled in fog. On days like these, you whisper, "What is happening to me, Lord?" It is not your fault, and it is not a sign that your faith is weak. You are learning something deeper than any miracle. That faith isn't proven when the sun shines, but when the winds rise. Do you remember the disciples? When I slept in the boat, the waves began to rise, the wind howled, and fear spread through them like fire across the deck. They didn't forget I was there, but they doubted whether my presence still mattered in the middle of the storm. And that, child, is what many of my children wrestle with today. I never promised you wouldn't face storms, but I did promise that I would be there, in the waves. not as a spectator, but as the one who commands the wind to cease and the sea to be still. And child, some of the fiercest battles you fight won't come from the outside, but from the voice within your own heart. On those days, the attacks won't come from others, but from the quiet doubt. Did I miss something? Did I mess up? Am I suffering because I don't have enough faith? You've forgotten that real faith is not measured by emotion. It's measured by choice. And the strongest choice of all is this: to keep your heart steady, even when the tears fall. You've walked through days when no one knew you were in pain. You still kept going, still smiled, still worked, even when your soul was filled with 100 unanswered questions. And those days, I recorded every one. In those very moments, heaven stood and applauded. Not because you won the battle, but because you didn't give up. My dear child, sit down now and listen carefully. The storm didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal what your roots are clinging to. If you place your hope in comfort, you'll fall when that comfort is gone. But if your roots are in my word, then even when the wind howls and the rain pours, you'll still stand. An oak tree doesn't grow strong in light breezes. It needs storms to push its roots deeper. So do you. When you feel like you're at your breaking point and you stop, take a deep breath, and whisper, "No matter what, the Lord is still my shepherd." In that moment, your soul is being fortified in ways you cannot see, and growth happens. I saw you when you woke at 3 a.m. and couldn't fall back asleep. In the darkness, you whispered, "How do I keep going?" I was sitting by your bed. I held your heart, and I whispered back into the silence, "Just keep walking, I'll take care of the rest." You may not see any movement on the outside, but inside, a new layer of strength is forming. Just like gold isn't refined by gentle breeze, but by fire, so too is your faith refined. It shines brightest after it has passed through the flame. And you know what the most beautiful thing is? Not when you stand boldly, but when you're trembling, unsure, and still say, "I believe." The truth is, faith is not the feeling of confidence. Faith is the decision to step toward me, even when your heart is shaking. Once, a man came to me and said, "Please heal my son if you can." And I asked, "Do you believe?" He said, "I do believe. Help me in my unbelief." And I healed. Because I don't need perfect faith. I just need honest faith. And it's in those moments when you don't understand what I'm doing. When your prayers feel unanswered. When every door seems closed. That's exactly when I'm laying down a foundation in you that cannot be shaken. You can't see a tree's roots growing, but they are pressing deeper each day. And when the great storm comes, those roots will be the very thing that keeps you standing. So don't fear the storm. Learn to listen for me in the thunder. Learn to find me in the rain, because I'm not gone, I'm hidden, so you can learn to trust. Child, I know sometimes you feel like the light inside you is fading. You used to burn brightly, used to hope, used to sing and pray with passion, but time, wounds, and weariness have dimmed that fire. Today, I'm not here to blame you. I'm here to breathe life back into the ashes. A small flame is still flame. And all it takes is one breath from the Holy Spirit, and it will blaze again brighter than before. So when you're tired, don't walk away. Don't hide from me. Sit down, let the tears come. Breathe. Whisper, "I'm still here." That right there is faith. Not fancy, not loud, but enough to move heaven. My beloved, there's something I want you to understand. Steadfastness in the storm is the highest form of worship. When you sing in pain, when you praise me through doubt, when you offer thanks even before you see an answer. In those moments, you are doing something the enemy cannot stop. You're proving that your love for me is not based on circumstances. And that's what makes darkness tremble. Think of David. He fell, wept until he had no tears left and hid in caves. Yet he wrote, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." Not because he didn't hurt, but because that's how he kept his soul from being swallowed by despair. Faith doesn't deny reality. It doesn't pretend everything is fine. Faith stands tall, stares suffering in the face, and says, "No matter what, I choose to believe God is at work." And so do you. Every time you choose to believe, even when no one else supports you, even when nothing makes sense, you are writing a spiritual declaration. I am one whom darkness cannot extinguish. Child, take this truth deep into your heart. The storm will pass, but what I build in you through it will last forever. When you emerge from the season of testing, you won't just be stronger, you'll understand me more. And nothing is more precious than that. Because once you've known me in the dark, the light won't be something you depend on anymore. It will simply confirm what you already know. Keep walking, step by step, even if it's slow, even if your knees tremble, even if you're not sure. As long as you're walking toward me, you're on the right path. And if my words today have brought you comfort, don't keep them to yourself. Share them. Because someone just a few seats away from you might be in their own storm, and you may be the light I'm sending to them. Stay strong. Not because you are strong enough, but because I am the one holding you. My beloved child, there are things that hold you back, not enemies on the outside, but quiet burdens from within. The thoughts that loop in your mind, the old memories that cling tightly, the wounds you thought you had forgiven but have only been pushed into a hidden corner. And these very things, if left untouched, will begin to cloud the spiritual wellspring I've poured into you. I've seen the moments when you pray, but your heart still feels heavy. You read scripture, but the words don't sink in. You come to me, but deep inside, you carry a list of grievances, some closed doors, and a few people who've hurt you. Then you ask, why can't I feel your presence anymore? Child, it's not because I've gone anywhere. It's because your heart has become veiled by layers of resentment, weariness, and guardedness. I don't condemn you. I simply want you to recognize that if you don't let me clear out the house within you, the light I've placed there will keep being dimmed by the very walls you've built. Picture your soul as a garden. If you don't pull the weeds, trim the dead leaves, or water it with gratitude and forgiveness, the garden will wither. Even with sunlight, even with good seed, nothing grows in hardened, neglected soil. You've been hurt. I know that. There were people who should have protected you, but turned their backs. Words you thought were fleeting sank deep into your spirit. Some things you've never told anyone. Things you've tried to erase from memory. But child, I know all of it. And I'm not asking you to be stronger. I just want you to be brave enough to sit still, open your heart, and let me step into the places even you've tried to avoid. Because when I step in, I don't come with flames of judgment. I come with the hands of a potter, hands that know how to hold broken pieces and reshape what seemed beyond repair. Do you know why your peace often slips away, even when nothing outside you is wrong? It's because of long-buried emotions rising like underground rivers breaking through. You thought, that's behind me, but it still lives in your reactions, your angry words, the way you look at others with guarded eyes and don't understand why. Let me help you name each one. Maybe it's a small bitterness toward someone who belittled you. Maybe it's a quiet shame from a mistake you made long ago, or a deep disappointment in yourself because you believe you're behind, you didn't do as well as others. You don't have to hide anymore. I'm not waiting for you to come to me perfect. I'm waiting for you to come to me honest, because only from that place can miracles happen. I want you to sit, not to nitpick yourself, but to ask me sincerely, Lord, is there anything in me that's blocking your flow? And when you ask, I'll show you. Not all at once, but enough for you to begin releasing. You know, forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a choice. Sometimes one you have to remake every day. And no, forgiveness doesn't mean the other person was right. It simply means you've chosen to stop letting that wound rule your life. Because when you refuse to forgive, you're not punishing them. You're imprisoning yourself in yesterday's pain. But when you forgive, you open a door, not just for them to walk out, but for you to walk into freedom. And don't forget to forgive yourself too. You've blamed yourself long enough. I no longer remember the things you keep repeating. If I've erased it, you don't need to write it again. If I've forgiven it, you don't need to keep sentencing yourself. Accept my forgiveness, not just as a gift, but as a new beginning. Child, there's a spiritual truth I want you to grasp. Your mind is the greatest battlefield. What you repeat in thought will soon become your hidden belief, then your words, then your behavior. So if you keep telling yourself, I'm a burden, I'll never change, it's too late for me, sooner or later, you'll live like that's true. But if you begin replacing those words with my truth, everything will shift. Instead of saying I failed, say I'm still learning. Instead of thinking, God has forgotten me, say, He's preparing something better. Instead of saying, I'm too broken to love again, say, His love is strong enough to heal every wound in me. And little by little, the waters inside you will be cleansed, not by your strength, but by the living word washing your soul like a fresh stream. You'll see it begin to happen. Once your inner world is cleared, the outer world starts to change. Conversations grow gentler, reactions become softer, and the simple joy you thought was lost will start returning. Your decisions won't come from fear or lack anymore, but from a place of spiritual fullness, where you know you don't have to strive to be loved, because you already are. Remember this, no one can guard your heart better than you. I can show you the way, I can heal you, but you are the one who decides what enters each day. Like a gatekeeper, you must learn to recognize which voice is mine and which is a lie. Only then will the waters within you remain alive and clear. Don't be surprised if I ask you to let go of something, a relationship, a habit, a thought that seems harmless. I never take anything from you unless I have something better to replace it with. If I'm asking you to release it, it's because I'm clearing the way for something greater, deeper, and stronger. My child, when your heart is cleared, you won't just hear me more clearly. You'll begin to walk with a lightness you once thought only belonged to others. You'll realize that peace isn't a luxury, it's a part of the new self I'm restoring in you. And from that purified place, love will begin to flow. You won't love to receive, you'll love because you're already full. You won't serve to be seen, you'll serve because joy is now your natural overflow. In that moment, you won't be trying to become anything. You'll simply be living as the one I designed you to be from the beginning. My beloved child, I haven't led you through the deep places within your heart just so you could become more self-aware. I haven't called you merely to live a peaceful, quiet life. Everything you've been through, the breaking, the healing, the growth, the rebirth, has been preparing you for something greater. Your calling. You are no longer the person you once were, and with a renewed heart, a clearer vision, and a soul that has been purified, you are ready to step forward. Not as a loud warrior, not as someone chasing recognition, but as a quiet light spreading across the room, as salt seeping into the earth, as yeast rising through the dough. Don't assume your calling must be something grand or public. It doesn't always happen on a stage. Sometimes it's in a well-timed word of comfort, a look of forgiveness, a hug for someone who feels hope is lost. Your calling is to live each day with the awareness, I no longer live for myself, but for the one who called me. You weren't chosen to store light. You were chosen to shine it. And what I've given you isn't meant to be locked away inside, it's meant to be shared. You don't have to be perfect to inspire others. It's your honesty, when you dare to speak of the wounds, the journey, the tears you've cried, the faith you've held on to, that will reach someone sitting in the dark whom you may never even know. Look back over your life. The things you thought were random, they were all pieces I carefully arranged. The family you were born into, the people you've met, the places you've lived, the mistakes that seemed wasted, all of them contributed to this very moment. Nothing in you is extra. No moment has been ignored by me. If something feels unnecessary, let me turn it into the raw material for someone else's healing. You are a living testimony of my grace. And when you walk in that truth, even the smallest act you do carries eternal weight. Don't wait until everything is perfect to begin. Don't think you need more time, more knowledge, more confirmation. You were anointed long ago. I'm just waiting for you to rise, not in perfection, but in obedience. Remember, it's your perseverance when no one sees, your faithfulness in small things that opens the doors to greater things. You may think what you're doing doesn't matter. But every time you choose forgiveness over resentment, silence over retaliation, hope over bitterness, heaven leans in and darkness retreats. Every day lived with me is a sermon. Every act you do in my name is a light shining. And every time you walk into a room, the presence I carry in you will touch someone, even if you never know it. Child, don't fear the fragility in you. I see it. But I also know my power is revealed most perfectly through your weakness. When you know you need me, you won't wander. When you rely on me, you won't fall too far. Don't chase applause. Don't live for validation. Live for the voice within that says, "You are mine. I delight in you." My approval is enough to keep you walking every day, even when the world misunderstands. You don't need more than my love, and you will never run out of it. No matter how far you go, how many times you fall, or how weary you feel, my love for you never fades. So now, as you stand at the threshold of a new life, not new because your circumstances have changed, but because your heart has, remember this: you no longer live to search, you live to reveal. You are no longer begging for light, you carry it. You are no longer afraid of the dark, you are the lamp in the night. And I, the one who called you, will walk with you every day. When you're weak, I will be strong in you. When you're lost, I will guide. When you're joyful, I will rejoice. When you cry, I will wipe your tears. You will never be alone again. Now go, not as someone unsure, but as someone already appointed. Walk in forgiveness, in trust, in daily guidance. And when you fall, don't be discouraged. Rise again. My heart is still open. Every day is a new opportunity. Every breath is proof that I still intend to use you. If you once believed your past was the end, let me show you it was just the beginning of a glory far beyond what you imagined. My beloved, I'm proud of you, not because you're perfect, but because you've chosen to return. You've chosen to hear my voice. You've chosen not to give up. I've seen every step you took. Every time you wrestled. Every time you were weak and still prayed. Every time you wanted to run but stayed. I saw it all and I say, you bring me joy. Now go. Don't be afraid. Don't look back. Don't wait another moment. Heaven is going with you. My presence covers you. And the light I've placed in you will shine for more people than you ever imagined. Go, child. The world needs what I've placed inside of you. And if you ever need me to remind you, just be still. I am still here, still whispering, never far, never weary of loving you. Live, love, move forward. I am here, always. Amen. My beloved child, now that you've heard all that I long to say, I hope that something within you has gently shifted. Maybe a sigh has been released a little more lightly. Maybe a tear has fallen in safety. Maybe a quiet thought within you has been healed by truth. Because that is why I came. Not to change your circumstances instantly, but to change the way you walk through them. Not to erase every pain, but to dwell in you, even in the midst of pain, and turn it into part of your calling. Child, heaven is still watching, but not just to see if you're doing well. Heaven watches because you are a vital part of a divine plan unfolding. You are the light in your neighborhood, the life-giving word at a family dinner table, the embrace for a weary friend. You are not invisible, you are not insignificant, and you have never been forgotten. I see you when you're cooking dinner, when you're caring for your aging mother, when you hide your tears and smile for your children. I see it all, and I treasure every bit of it. Nothing is too small for me. Never let the indifference of this world convince you that you don't matter, because every small act you do in love catches heaven's attention. Every faithful choice, every quiet prayer. I record them all, and one day you'll see the full picture. You'll understand why there were long days of silence, why I asked you to walk alone at times, and in that moment you will smile through your tears, because you'll know I was always there, watching, waiting, guiding. So live each day with this awareness. Heaven is watching you, and nothing you do for me is ever wasted. Now rise, keep going. Live with the confidence that you are seen, you are loved, and you are living under the presence of the one who never sleeps. Amen.